Okay, folks, so we talked before about multiplying two binomials together and we ended up with a polynomial. Now we're going to talk about going backwards and taking that polynomial and factoring it down. And we'll eventually talk about what that looks like with the graph and we'll get to all that. But for now, we're going to look at some of the basic ones here. We're going to talk about polynomials, talking about trinomials in this case, so three terms. And we're going to go with ones that have a leading coefficient of 1, which means there's going to be nothing in front of, in this case, n squared. There's no number out there. There's not a 2, a 3, and that's the first couple we're going to look at. Well, if there is no number in front, so if we have a leading coefficient of 1, all you have to do is take the last number, in this case positive 21, and come up with the factors of 21. So we have 1 and 21, and also 3 times 7 is 21, so I have 3 and 7. What we're going to do with this now, because this is a plus sign right here, you're going to ask yourself which of these two pairs, which of these two sets adds, and we're going to look at this number 10 right here. So which of these two sets adds up to 10? 1 and 21 or 3 and 7? Or obviously 3 and 7. So now I'm going to start talking about factoring this thing. Because there's only one way to multiply two things together to get n squared, and that's going to be n times n. And we said that I need two numbers that multiply to 21, and they have to, because of the plus sign right here, they have to add to 10. And that's because it's the middle number right here. So I'm going to put my 3, and I'm going to put my 7 in there. Now, because it's a plus sign, my signs are going to have to match. So I either need two pluses in here or two minuses. Because it's negative 10, I'm going to put a minus sign here, I'm going to put a minus sign here. So now, I've taken this n squared minus 10n plus 21, and I factored it into n minus 3 times n minus 7. And if we think back to what we did with our distribution, if we were to FOIL this back out, distribute this back out that we did last week and the week before, that's going to put me right back to the n squared minus 10n plus 21. Our second example is pretty similar. We're talking about 80. Because it's a plus sign, we're still thinking about positive 80, so adding two numbers together to get to 18. So I have my pairs, 1 times 80, 2 times 40, and you don't have to write them all down if you don't think you need to. You might be able to see them in your head better. And in this case, the pair that gives me 18 is going to be my 8 and my 10. So I take my V's, I split them up. I put my 8 and my 10 in. Now because this is a positive 18, I go V plus 8, V plus 10. That is if we have the back number being positive. If the back number is negative, I start off the same way. 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 4 and 8. But now I'm thinking subtraction because of that minus sign. I'm asking myself, which of these two numbers is 14 apart? Which two are 14 apart? And in this case, it's the 2 and the 16. Now, because it's a negative 32, I'm going to have one positive and one negative. The question is, which one's positive and which one's negative? Well, I want positive 14. Well, for me to get to positive 14, that means the bigger number is going to have to be positive. Because when I take 16, positive 16, and add negative 2 to it, that's going to give me positive 14. So if I factor this one down, I'm going to get x minus 2 in one parentheses, x plus 16 in the other. Over here, same deal. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. It's a negative sign, so I want the ones that are 1 apart. Remember, there's an understood 1 right there. So 4 and 5 are 1 apart. It doesn't matter if you put the 4 first or the 5 first. It doesn't matter because we're going to put the signs in accordingly. We want a positive 1, opposite signs. So the 5 has to be positive and the 4 has to be negative. And the reason is to sort of give you an idea on this. If I was to turn around and distribute this back out, this would give me negative 4x, and this would give me positive 5x. And when I add them together and combine like terms, that's where that plus 1x is going to come from. Now, if we come down to a question that does have a leading coefficient, we're not focusing on any of the major stuff right now. So since I have a 2 out front of here, if I look, all of these are divisible by 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is factor out that 2. If we multiplied numbers in, it was multiplication. So if I'm removing a number, I'm putting the 2 on the outside, I'm going to simply divide every term by 2. Every one of these terms got divisible by 2. Now I don't even think about the 2. All I do with the 2 is move it down. Forget the 2 exists pretty much. Okay, you're not actually going to do this, but imagine that this didn't exist. It still does, but imagine it didn't. You're going to take that 18. You're going to say, okay, how do I get to 18? 18 and 1, 6 and 3, 9 and 2. I want them to add to 18. Since 6 and 3 multiply to 18 and add to 9, x plus 6, x plus 3. And then in this example here, they're all divisible by 3. I moved a 3 down. Completely forget about the 3, but I moved a 3 down. I look at 21. I know it's 1 and 21 and 3 and 7 because it's a negative 21. I want two numbers that are 4 apart, which are right here. Because it's a positive 4, I want the bigger number to be positive. And I'm done. I'm going to put this video along with another video of someone else explaining it. Let me know if you have any questions.